Thank you very much. As it was said, my name is David Richards. I'm a senior product manager in IBM Messaging. So I'm here to talk to you today about MQ on AWS, so as a managed service. The whole point of this is we're trying to extend the reach of your AWS applications to make the data in your AWS applications more available to inside of AWS and outside on your hybrid cloud orchestration. So, first of all, I've spoken to a lot of people in this conference this week who have MQ, who are MQ customers, but for those of you who aren't familiar with MQ, it's effectively messaging middleware. So it moves information and data around your organization in the form of messages. So we have this concept of queue managers, and queue managers are effectively the message brokers. That's where you can apply your configuration, where you have your queues and your applications connect into. And really, MQ on its own doesn't do anything. So you need to connect applications to these queue managers to be able to send data around your organization. And really, messaging enables asynchronous communication, so between those applications, enabling a much easier service-oriented architecture and ensuring that applications can run at their own speeds on different platforms, on different operating systems or even clouds. And just to kind of prove the last point, so Gartner has had us at #1 spot for over the last decade for messaging middleware. We have 96% of the top 100 global banks as customers. And we have customers who send billions, even trillions of messages a day using MQ. So we are well established as in enterprise messaging. And we're going to talk about what we do on AWS. But some of the benefits, so that's what MQ is, and these are really the value propositions of MQ. So first of all, we connect applications all around your organization, regardless of which platform they're on, regardless of which language that they're developed on, but we can connect them with one single messaging API. And we can ensure that data is connected around your organization much, much easier. Not only that, we have an extremely good level of reliability. So we have assured exactly once delivery of messages. So that means that every message will get to where it's supposed to get to, and we will ensure that you don't get any duplicate messages either. So you can leave that logic out of your applications and ensure that MQ will get the messages to where they need to go. We also ensure that your data is protected. So we have from fine-grained authentication of users and applications to end-to-end messaging, end-to-end encryption of your messages. So I'm not just talking about TLS encryption or on the wire. I'm talking about from the producing application all the way from in processing, in transit, and at rest to your consuming application. And not even the administrators of your systems or MQ can read those messages and get to them. So I hope you can see that things like this really help with requirements such as GDPR, or even making audits much, much quicker and much more seamless. In fact, a lot of our customers use the end-to-end encryption for those reasons. And then finally, optimize. So once you've got your applications connected up, once they're all on the one single messaging API, then connecting new applications to that network is much, much easier. And not just that, you can make use of things like our Salesforce connector, and therefore bring data that's happening and events happening in Salesforce into that MQ network for applications to use it, and also using our blockchain connector. So pulling information from the blockchain and making that available to your applications. So the reason we're here today is to talk about a new managed service on AWS infrastructure. So effectively, we've stood up some AWS infrastructure in 2 locations. And then when you provision a queue manager, we stand that queue manager up on dedicated or reserved resource. And then you can continue to configure and use MQ in the way that our existing customers know and love today. But first of all, I just want to prove that we can connect anything anywhere. So obviously, MQ started as a software version available on Linux, Windows, ZOS, and we've also got an appliance version, so something that you can just take in your data center, plug in, and it's MQ in a box for you. You can also run MQ on the cloud yourself, so customers and users that are used to running MQ in their data center, you can take that to the cloud, run it on any cloud, obviously AWS, without any changes to the software, and run and manage that yourselves. Now, this time last year, one of my colleagues, John Tilt, was on the stage announcing an AWS MQ quick start that we'd done. So on the quick starts at the moment, you can click a button, as the quick starts are, and you can stand up in a matter of minutes instead of hours, a highly available replicated MQ infrastructure using AWS services. So if you're interested in that, go and have a look at the quick starts, and we're on there. And then obviously this year, we're announcing MQ as a managed service on AWS infrastructure. And so the benefits of that service, on top of all of the benefits I've spoken about of MQ, are that it's managed for you. So we have really the developers that have been developing this for years, who are experts in this technology. We are standing that up on AWS infrastructure and running that for you, making it available to you and ensuring that it's always running. We then secure. I spoke about the fine-grained authentication of users and applications and the end-to-end encryption. That's obviously extremely important on the cloud, in the public cloud, and so we've made that standard in the MQ on AWS version. And then up and running in minutes. Now, we talked to some existing users who are not as advanced as you guys are on the cloud, and they said, well, this really isn't a benefit to us. We stand a new queue manager up every couple of months. Like, well, what's the big deal? Obviously, you guys know that the cloud is about bringing things up when you need them and tearing them down when you don't. And so this really comes into its own in that after a click of a button and some short information that I'll show you later, that you can have something standing up, using it, and then bring it down, enabling you to manage your peaking workloads much, much easier. So I just want to introduce you to Edward. So this is our persona. Edward, he's about a year into his cloud migration journey, so they're doing well. Edward works for a company that has many, many different organizations in it. They're a financial company. They have manufacturing, retail. Have I resonated with all of you yet? Any industries I've missed? Funnily enough, we do have some customers who are just like Edward. But he's into his cloud journey. I'm going to talk about, he's noticed some architectural situations in which MQ really comes into its own. So the first one is within a single AWS region. So they have a web application taking orders and dealing with financial information that's connecting to another service in the cloud. And so putting MQ in between the two ensures that they have that transactionality between the two. So MQ deals with transactions extremely well, ensuring that obviously when money is passed between two accounts, for example, that it only happens once. And therefore, you don't want that transaction to happen twice. Obviously, if you get money taken out of your bank account twice and only get the service once, then you're going to be pretty angry. So they put MQ between the two to handle the transactions between the two applications. And they're also, since it's handling personal information, they've used the end-to-end encryption to ensure that that's always safe. Now, the second and probably most important or most common situation that we see is as Edward goes to the cloud, he either moves existing applications into AWS or develops new applications on AWS and wants to ensure that data that was on his on-premise stock systems, so whether it's systems of record or data lakes or databases, that are still available to the new or moved applications in the cloud. So putting MQ in the cloud, in the managed service in AWS, and then having it connect back to on-premise, enabling MQ to handle that geographical distance, also any possible network outages that could happen, and in ensuring the latency is as quick as possible. Putting MQ in those two places means that the application can just pass off extremely short distance a message to MQ, have MQ handle that connection between your on-premise systems and the possible network issues that can happen, and then having that MQ again talk to the system on-premise. And then the third scenario that we see is very likely as well, is handling cross-region communication. So having MQ in two different regions in AWS and having MQ handle that transaction, again, very similar to the hybrid connection example, just in two separate regions, and having MQ responsible for that communication, that distance, the potential network issues there. So all of this is a little bit, theoretical until this point. I just want to show you our user interface, show you how quick and easy it is to set up a queue manager on the cloud, and also then kind of bring it a little bit more to life. So on the right-hand side here, this is the user interface. We have a kind of a getting started guide. So for those of you who are not familiar with MQ or are familiar with MQ and not used to it as a managed service on the cloud, then this will teach you the, simple principles. Now, on the offering manager for this, so I don't need this. I'll close that. But here's just where you create a queue manager. So extremely simple fields. You give it a name and a display name in case you need to understand who owns that or which part of the organization. And then you choose your location. So we have multiple locations that you can choose, multiple data centers. And this is where you would choose your location for your queue manager. We then have simple t-shirt sizing, so small, medium, large, based on your different workloads. And we've got some information there to help you choose which one might be more appropriate. Now, while we wait for that to set up and initialize, we're going to go and create a user for this. So as I said about fine-grained authentication, this is where you can create a user. I'll put my email address in, and then I can have access to configure this, to set it up, and to make any changes that I need to. This then goes back to the platform's integration access management, which all of the permissions can be handled through there. Then going to assign an application, so give it a name, again, a description, and then generate an API key. And this is what's used as our authentication to connect into the queue manager with the applications. So when you do this, it goes back to the platform, creates the API key. You can show that or download it. Obviously, this is breaking all security rules and exposing that here. But you can copy and download that to use in your applications. You obviously only get the chance to do this once. And once you've done that, we'll go back to the queue manager. And we'll see that it's running. Once it's running, you can connect into it. You can see the host name, the port number, things like that. This is where you can download and view the logs of your queue manager. You can also, we've got the key store and trust store where you can set up mutual TLS authentication or configure end-to-end encryption for your queue manager. I'm just going to go in here and click to launch the console. So this is an administration tool that comes with every queue manager on AWS. This is consistent with other administration tools in MQ in other flavors. So this is the console. I'm just going to put a quick message. You can put messages here, view them. Obviously, that's not where you do most of it. And you can tailor this with graphs to see how your queue manager is doing. We also do, for those of you who are familiar with MQ, we also have a MQ Explorer, an Eclipse-based tool, and a command line tool, and that's all compatible with all the existing administration tools and monitoring tools. So just want to talk through a potential customer use case for this. So we've got, on the right-hand side, so we have a European mobile or cell phone retailer. And obviously, being in Europe, then they're holding all of their data in Ireland, for tax purposes. To boost the Irish economy, and they're expanding to the US. So they're expanding to the US and want to offer their services. So they've got their front end running on AWS US East, with their back end still in Ireland. So just going to show basically some scripts here. The detail of these scripts is not important, but just going to show you how quick and easy it can be to set up queue managers, to configure them, and then hook them into each other. So what we're doing here is configuring them and connecting them together so that the company can still have their backend in Ireland and connect in from their user interface in the US. Now, this retailer, they obviously sell mobile phones, and they want to give customers the opportunity to check the stock before they then go and purchase the cell phone. So just going to show you a really simple demo that we see the connection going between the two. You see activity happening on the queue managers, and it tells the customer there's only one mobile phone left in an extremely short time. They're confident that there's only one left, and then the customer, it makes the customer panic and go and buy the mobile phone. So all of the scripts that we've used in this demo, and the whole demo, the entire end-to-end demo with a Lambda function involved in as well, is available on ibm.biz_MQ /MQ_demo. It's also available on the IBM.com product pages. There's a link through to there to our Git repo, and you can have a look at this demo. You can use the configuration scripts. We've commented it all up to let you know what's happening, and then to be able to connect them all together. So you might have been sat here, you might be using other messaging services at the moment, especially in AWS, I just want to show what we really think are the most important aspects of a messaging service. Now, I completely understand when customers and companies do this, they obviously put the things that they are best at on the screen and then leave all the other aspects the customer isn't good at on there. But we really believe these are the most important things when choosing a messaging service. So the first one I've spoken about quite a bit is end-to-end encryption of messages, ensuring that the security of those messages in the public cloud. The second one is the level of service. So enterprise proven exactly once messaging. You don't have to put that logic in your applications to handle duplicate messages or whatever it never gets there. And then messaging, so cross-cloud managed messaging. So available cross clouds and software support. So we have the developers who've been working on this code for years are able to change the code, to put any changes in, any requests for enhancements, that we can change that and put those additions in. That also means that you don't have to buy additional software support when using our product. So this comes free as you purchase this hourly or monthly, then you get the software support included in this. So there's no additional support needed. And the last point is cross-cloud region support. As I showed in the demo, having MQ available in US East and in Ireland, then that is possible to connect the two together extremely easily and have messages sent between the two. No fudging needed. So hopefully, I've been able to communicate how you can increase and extend the use of your data in your AWS applications. If you want to find out more, ask any questions, then come talk to myself or my colleagues that are here with me on stand 2909. Or if you want to check out more, then that's the URL to our product pages where I said you can get the scripts for the demo that we ran here. So thank you very much. Please do come and see us at stand 2909. Thank you.